Liam Parker stands frozen outside his boss's office door, heart hammering against his ribs. Inside, Marcus Washington's deep voice rumbles through mahogany, and Liam knows, tonight, everything changes. The Virgin Secretary has denied himself for 26 years, but his body recognizes what his mind refuses to admit. He wants this man with an intensity that terrifies him. Before we dive in, comment where in the world you are watching from, and don't forget to click subscribe. Liam Parker had perfected the art of invisible efficiency. At 26, he'd built his entire professional identity around being indispensable without being noticed. The perfect secretary who anticipated needs before they were voiced, who made his boss's life seamless, who existed solely to support someone else's success. Working for Marcus Washington, CEO of Washington Capital Group, required nothing less than perfection. The man commanded every room he entered with a presence that made grown executives stammer. At 42, Marcus had built a financial empire from nothing, his reputation for ruthless brilliance preceding him everywhere. He was also, Liam had noted with carefully suppressed awareness, the most physically imposing man Liam had ever encountered. 6'4" of solid muscle, skin the rich brown of expensive coffee, with shoulders that seemed to fill doorways, and hands that made everything they touched look small. Marcus moved with the quiet confidence of someone who'd never questioned his right to take up space, his deep voice resonating in a way that made Liam's stomach flutter with sensations he absolutely could not examine. Because Liam Clark was very, very good at denial. He'd been denying certain truths about himself for his entire adult life. Growing up in rural Ohio with conservative parents who'd made their views on deviance crystal clear, Liam had learned early to suppress anything that didn't fit the expected narrative. He'd dated women in college, pleasant, perfectly nice women who never made his pulse race. He'd convinced himself that physical attraction was overrated, that companionship mattered more than chemistry. Then he'd taken this job 8 months ago, and Marcus Washington had shattered every careful lie Liam had told himself about who he was and what he wanted. Not that Marcus knew, not that anyone knew. Liam was a master at compartmentalization, at keeping his professional mask firmly in place. During office hours, he was the consummate assistant, organized, anticipatory, completely focused on making Marcus's life easier. He kept Marcus's calendar, fielded his calls, managed his appointments, and never once let his eyes linger too long on the way Marcus's suit stretched across his broad chest. Except late at night, alone in his studio apartment, Liam's carefully maintained control would crack. He'd lie in his narrow bed, virgin body aching with needs he barely understood, and think about Marcus's hands, those large, capable hands that he'd watched sign contracts and shake hands with investors, and occasionally, devastatingly, rest on Liam's shoulder when he'd done particularly good work. The touch was always brief, always appropriate, but it burned through Liam's shirt like a brand, leaving him flustered and aroused and desperately confused about what was happening to him. Because Liam had never been with anyone, not really. A few fumbling kisses with college girlfriends that had felt like performing a role rather than experiencing desire. He'd convinced himself he was just focused on his career, that he'd find someone when the timing was right, that his lack of interest in physical intimacy was simply part of his personality. But every time Marcus walked past his desk, trailing that subtle scent of sandalwood and something inherently masculine, Liam felt his body respond in ways that made lies impossible to maintain. His pulse would quicken, his skin would flush, and lower in places he tried desperately not to acknowledge. He'd feel stirrings of want so intense they frightened him. He wanted to be touched. He wanted to be held. He wanted, God help him, to know what it felt like to be taken by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Someone who could make him feel things he'd only read about in novels he'd hidden from his parents. He wanted Marcus Washington to ruin him for anyone else. The thought always made Liam's breath catch, made him duck his head over his keyboard and pray no one noticed the color rising in his fair cheeks. Because wanting your boss was inappropriate. Wanting another man when you'd spent your whole life pretending you didn't was terrifying. And wanting someone so far out of your league, someone who probably saw you as nothing more than competent office furniture, was simply pathetic. So Liam buried his desires beneath layers of professional efficiency and told himself he was content with admiring from a distance, with these small moments of proximity that would have to be enough. Until the night, everything changed. It started like any other late evening at the office. Marcus had been in back-to-back meetings all day, negotiating a massive acquisition deal that had everyone on edge. Liam had stayed late to handle the overflow of paperwork, ensuring every detail was perfect for tomorrow's final presentation. By 9 p.m., the office was empty except for the two of them. Liam could hear Marcus moving around in his corner office, could picture him loosening his tie, rolling up his shirt sleeves to reveal forearms cored with muscle that Liam absolutely should not be thinking about. He was just finishing up the last report when Marcus's door opened. Liam looked up, prepared to ask if there was anything else needed, and the words died in his throat. Marcus stood in the doorway, jacket discarded, tie hanging loose, the top two buttons of his white shirt undone to reveal a glimpse of his throat and the hollow between defined muscles. He looked tired but satisfied, and there was something in his dark eyes as they settled on Liam that made the younger man's mouth go dry. "You're still here," Marcus said, his voice carrying that low rumble that seemed to resonate in Liam's bones. "Just finishing the Henderson report," Liam managed, proud that his voice came out mostly steady. "I wanted to make sure everything was ready for tomorrow." Marcus moved closer, coming to stand beside Liam's desk. From this angle, Liam had to look up to meet his eyes, and the height difference sent an unexpected thrill through him that he desperately tried to ignore. "You work too hard," Marcus observed, and there was something almost gentle in his tone. "You're always the last one here." "I like being thorough," Liam said, which was true but not the whole truth. The whole truth was that he stayed late because it meant more time near Marcus, even if they were in separate rooms. Pathetic, but undeniable. "I appreciate your dedication," Marcus said, and then his hand came down to rest on Liam's shoulder, just as it had dozens of times before. Except this time, it didn't immediately lift. This time, Marcus's large hand stayed there, warm and heavy through the fabric of Liam's button-down shirt, and Liam forgot how to breathe. "Liam," Marcus said quietly, and something in the way he said the name made it feel like the first time anyone had ever really spoken it. "Look at me." Liam obeyed without thinking, tilting his head back to meet Marcus's gaze. In the low light of the office, with everyone else gone and the city glittering through the windows behind them, something shifted in the air between them. Marcus's eyes traveled over Liam's face with an intensity that made the younger man's pulse spike. It felt like being seen, really seen, in a way Liam had never experienced. Like Marcus was looking past all the carefully constructed professionalism to the desperate want underneath. "I need to ask you something," Marcus said, his voice dropping even lower, "and I need you to be honest with me." Liam's heart hammered. "Okay. Do you feel it too?" Marcus asked. "This thing between us, or am I imagining it?" The question hung in the air, loaded with possibility and danger, and everything Liam had been trying so hard to deny. He could lie, should maintain the professional distance that kept him safe from having to confront uncomfortable truths about himself. Instead, he heard himself whisper, "You're not imagining it." Marcus's hand tightened on his shoulder, and Liam saw something flash in those dark eyes. Satisfaction, heat, determination. "How long?" "Since I started," Liam admitted, the words spilling out before he could stop them. "Since the first day I walked into this office and you shook my hand and I felt—" He stopped, unsure how to describe the electric shock that had run through him at that first touch. "I know," Marcus said. "I felt it too. Tried to ignore it. Tried to tell myself you were off limits because you work for me. Because you're so much younger, because—" He paused. "Because I wasn't sure you'd be interested in a man." The acknowledgement of what this was, what they were dancing around, made Liam's breath catch. "I've never," he started, then stopped, cheeks burning. "I haven't been with anyone. Not really. Not—" He couldn't finish the sentence. Understanding dawned in Marcus's eyes, followed by something that looked almost like reverence. "You've never been with a man?" "I've never been with anyone," Liam corrected, the admission making him feel vulnerable and exposed. "I'm a virgin." The word seemed to electrify the air between them. Marcus's hand moved from Liam's shoulder to cup his face, thumb tracing the line of his jaw with devastating gentleness. "Liam," Marcus said, and the younger man had never heard his name spoken with such intensity. "Do you understand what you're telling me? What you're offering?" "I'm not offering," Liam said, finding courage he didn't know he possessed. "I'm asking. I'm begging. Marcus, I don't know what I'm doing or how any of this works, but I know I want you to show me. I want you to be my first, my only. I want—" His voice broke. "I want to stop being so desperately alone." Marcus's other hand joined the first, cradling Liam's face like he was something precious. "If we do this," he said carefully, "there's no going back. I'm not interested in a one-time thing or a casual arrangement. If I touch you, if I make you mine, it's because you're choosing to be mine. Fully, completely. Do you understand?" The possessiveness in his words should have scared Liam. Instead, it sent heat flooding through his body, pooling low in his belly. "Yes," he breathed. "I understand. I want that. I want you. Even though I'm your boss, even though this complicates everything, even though you have no idea what you're asking for?" "Especially because of all that," Liam said with sudden clarity. "I'm tired of being safe. I'm tired of denying myself. I want to feel something real. And I want to feel it with you." Marcus studied his face for a long moment, searching for any hint of doubt or hesitation. Whatever he saw in Liam's eyes must have satisfied him, because slowly, deliberately, he leaned down and brought their mouths together. The kiss was gentle at first, Marcus clearly aware of Liam's inexperience. His lips moved against Liam's with patient skill, coaxing rather than demanding, teaching rather than taking. Liam made a small sound of surprise and pleasure, his hands coming up to grip Marcus's shirt, anchoring himself against the overwhelming sensation of being kissed by someone who actually knew how to do it. When Marcus's tongue traced the seam of Liam's lips, requesting entry, the younger man opened without hesitation. The first slide of Marcus's tongue against his own made Liam gasp, and Marcus swallowed the sound, deepening the kiss, while his hands remained gentle on Liam's face. It was everything Liam had never experienced with those fumbling college attempts. Heat and skill and genuine desire that made his entire body light up with want. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Liam felt dazed. "That's how you should be kissed," Marcus said, his voice rough with barely controlled need. "Like you're precious, like you matter, not like some obligation or performance." Liam's eyes burned with unexpected emotion. No one had ever made him feel precious before. "Again," he whispered. "Please, again." Marcus obliged, this kiss more demanding now that he knew Liam wanted it. His hand slid into Liam's blonde hair, tilting his head to a better angle, and Liam surrendered completely to the sensation. He'd never known kissing could feel like this, consuming, perfect, exactly what he'd been missing without knowing it. When Marcus finally pulled back, his dark eyes were molten with heat. "Not here," he said firmly. "Not in the office where anyone could walk in. Your first time is going to be somewhere private, somewhere I can take my time with you properly." The promise in his words made Liam shiver with anticipation. "Where?" "My place," Marcus said. "It's closer. Unless you want to wait, unless you need time to think about this." "No," Liam interrupted, surprising himself with his vehemence. "No waiting, no thinking. I've been thinking for 8 months and it's gotten me nowhere. I want this. I want you. Tonight." Marcus's smile was slow and devastating. "Then gather your things. We're leaving now." Liam moved on autopilot, shutting down his computer, grabbing his bag, barely aware of what he was doing. His entire focus was on Marcus moving through the office, powerful and purposeful, shrugging into his jacket and pocketing his phone. They rode down in the elevator in charged silence, standing on opposite sides of the car, as if touching now would make them combust before they reached privacy. Liam could feel Marcus's eyes on him, could sense the barely leashed control radiating off the older man, and it made him feel powerful in a way he'd never experienced. Marcus Washington, intimidating, successful, confident beyond measure, wanted him enough to restrain himself, to wait until they had privacy, to make sure Liam's first time was everything it should be. The knowledge was intoxicating. Marcus's car was waiting in the underground garage, a sleek black sedan that screamed expensive taste. He opened the passenger door for Liam, and the gentlemanly gesture made something warm bloom in the younger man's chest. During the drive through the city, Marcus kept one hand on the steering wheel and placed the other on Liam's thigh, a possessive weight that made Liam's breath quicken. "Nervous?" Marcus asked, glancing over at him. "Terrified," Liam admitted, "but also, I've never wanted anything more." "Good," Marcus said, his hand squeezing gently. "Fear and want together. That's how you know it matters. That's how you know it's real." They pulled into the parking garage of a luxury high-rise, and Marcus led him to a private elevator that required a key to access. The ride up to the penthouse felt endless, the tension building with each floor they climbed. Liam's hands were shaking slightly, and he clasped them together to hide it. Marcus noticed anyway. "We can still stop," he said quietly. "Anytime. Just say the word, and I'll take you home. No questions asked." "I don't want to stop," Liam said. I need you to show me what I've been missing. I need to know what it feels like to be touched by someone who actually wants me." The elevator doors opened directly into Marcus's penthouse, and Liam barely had time to register the expensive furnishings and floor-to-ceiling windows before Marcus was guiding him through the space toward a bedroom that was all dark wood and soft lighting. "Last chance," Marcus said, turning to face him. "After this, everything changes between us. Are you absolutely certain?" Liam looked up at this man who'd occupied every waking thought for 8 months. This powerful, confident, devastatingly attractive man who was giving him every opportunity to back out, and felt certainty settle in his bones. "I'm certain," he said. "Make me yours, Marcus. Please." Something fierce and possessive flashed in Marcus's eyes. "Strip," he commanded, his voice dropping to that authoritative tone that made Liam's knees weak. "Slowly, let me see what's mine." Liam's hands went to his shirt buttons, trembling but determined. He'd never undressed in front of anyone with intent before, had never been looked at the way Marcus was looking at him now, with hunger and appreciation and barely leashed desire. The shirt fell away, revealing Liam's pale, slender torso. He'd always been self-conscious about his body, too thin, too small compared to other men, but the way Marcus's eyes traveled over him made him feel beautiful for the first time in his life. "Perfect," Marcus murmured. "Absolutely perfect. Keep going." Liam's hands went to his belt, to his zipper, and soon his slacks joined his shirt on the floor. Standing there in just his underwear, he felt exposed and vulnerable, and desperately aroused all at once. "All of it," Marcus said, and there was no mistaking the command in his voice. Liam hooked his thumbs in the waistband of his briefs and pushed them down, stepping out of them and standing completely naked before Marcus for the first time. He fought the urge to cover himself, to hide the evidence of his arousal that was impossible to disguise. Marcus's gaze traveled over every inch of him with such intensity that Liam felt it like a physical touch. "You're beautiful," Marcus said, the words simple but absolutely sincere. "Pale and perfect and all mine." He moved closer, still fully dressed, and the contrast made Liam's breath catch. Marcus's hands came up to trace patterns on Liam's bare skin, across his shoulders, down his chest, along his sides, learning the landscape of his body with patient thoroughness. "I'm going to touch you now," Marcus said, his voice low and hypnotic. "I'm going to learn every place that makes you gasp, every spot that makes you tremble. And you're going to let me, aren't you? You're going to surrender everything to me." "Yes," Liam breathed, already lost to sensation. Anything. Everything. Marcus's hands continued their exploration, moving lower. And when he finally wrapped one large hand around Liam's length, the Virgin let out a choked sound of pleasure that was almost a sob. "That's it," Marcus encouraged, his grip firm but careful. "Let me hear you. Let me know what feels good." He worked Liam with practiced skill, his hand creating friction and pressure that was completely different from anything Liam had done to himself alone in the dark. This was being touched by someone else, being pleasured by someone who knew exactly what they were doing, and it was overwhelming in the best possible way. "Marcus," Liam gasped, his hips moving involuntarily, seeking more. "Please, I can't." "You can," Marcus said firmly. "You're going to come for me, right here, right now, so I can see how beautiful you are when you let go." The command in his voice, combined with the relentless movement of his hand, pushed Liam over the edge. He climaxed with a cry that was equal parts surprise and relief, his body shaking as pleasure crashed through him in waves he'd never experienced before. Marcus held him through it, one hand still working him through the aftershocks, while the other came up to support his back, keeping him steady. When Liam finally came back to himself, trembling and overwhelmed, Marcus was looking at him with such tenderness that it made his throat tight. "That's one," Marcus said, a small smile playing at his lips. "We're just getting started." He guided Liam to the massive bed, laying him down on sheets that felt like silk against his oversensitive skin. Then, Marcus began removing his own clothes, and Liam watched with wide eyes as the body he'd fantasized about for months was revealed. Marcus was magnificent. Broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist, every muscle defined, his dark skin beautiful in the low lighting. And lower, when he finally removed his boxer briefs, Liam's eyes widened at the sight of him. Marcus was large, very large. The thick length that stood proud from his body was intimidating and perfect and made Liam's virgin body clench with a mixture of nervousness and want. "Don't worry," Marcus said, reading his expression as he joined Liam on the bed. "I'll make sure you're ready. I'll make this good for you, I promise." He started with kisses, covering Liam's body with his mouth, his neck, his chest, moving lower with patient thoroughness. When his lips found one of Liam's sensitive peaks, the younger man arched off the bed with a gasp. "Responsive," Marcus murmured against his skin. "So responsive. I'm going to enjoy learning all your sensitive places." His mouth and hands worked in tandem, building Liam's pleasure back up while teaching him that his body was capable of so much more than he'd ever imagined. By the time Marcus's hand moved between his legs, fingers exploring with gentle insistence, Liam was writhing with need. "Please," he heard himself begging, though he wasn't entirely sure what he was begging for. "Marcus, please." "I know what you need," Marcus assured him, his voice thick with desire. "Trust me, let me take care of you." His fingers worked with patient skill, stretching and preparing Liam's virgin body while whispering encouragement about how well he was doing, how beautiful he looked, how perfect he was. The initial discomfort gave way to an unfamiliar fullness that made Liam's breath come faster. "More," he gasped, surprising himself. "I need more." "Greedy," Marcus said with approval. "That's good. Tell me what you want, Liam. Use your words." "You," Liam managed, his cheeks burning but his desire overriding any embarrassment. "I want you inside me. I want to know what it feels like to be filled by you. I want you to make me yours completely." Marcus groaned, the sound raw with need. "You're going to destroy me," he said, but he was already reaching for protection, already positioning himself between Liam's trembling thighs. "Look at me," Marcus commanded, and Liam's eyes locked with his. "I want to see your face when I take you. I want to watch you become mine." The first pressure was intense, Liam's virgin body resisting despite the preparation. Marcus moved with exquisite patience, advancing inch by careful inch, giving Liam time to adjust to the overwhelming sensation of being filled for the first time. "Breathe," Marcus coached, one hand coming up to cup Liam's face. "Just breathe through it. The discomfort will pass, I promise." Liam did as instructed, focusing on the warmth in Marcus's dark eyes, on the gentleness of his touch despite the obvious strain of holding back. Gradually, impossibly, His body began to accept the intrusion, and the burn started to transform into something else entirely. "More," he whispered. "I can take more." "Are you sure?" Marcus asked, his voice strained with the effort of restraint. "Yes," Liam said with sudden certainty. "I want all of you. I want to feel completely full. Please, Marcus, don't hold back." With a groan that sounded almost pained, Marcus pushed forward in one smooth motion, seating himself completely inside Liam's willing body. The younger man cried out at the overwhelming fullness, at the sensation of being stretched and claimed and possessed so thoroughly. "God!" Marcus gasped, his forehead dropping to rest against Liam's. "You feel incredible. So tight, so perfect. Made for me." They stayed like that for a long moment, both adjusting to the profound intimacy of being joined this way. Then Marcus began to move, shallow thrusts that awakened nerve endings Liam hadn't known existed. "Yes," Liam breathed, his hands clutching at Marcus's broad shoulders. "Just like that. Please don't stop." Marcus established a rhythm, deep and sure, each thrust hitting places inside Liam that sent sparks of pleasure through his entire body. The younger man had never felt anything like this. The fullness, the friction, the overwhelming sensation of being taken by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. "That's it," Marcus encouraged, his voice rough with pleasure. "Take all of me. You're doing so well, taking me so perfectly. My beautiful virgin, so eager to be filled." The words sent heat flooding through Liam. He'd never known that being talked to during sex could be so arousing, that Marcus's deep voice describing what they were doing could make everything feel even more intense. "Harder," Liam heard himself beg, his body moving to meet Marcus's thrusts. "Please, I need—" Marcus obliged, his control slipping as he drove into Liam with more force, more urgency. The younger man cried out with each deep thrust, pleasure building inside him like pressure with no release. "Touch yourself," Marcus commanded. "I want to feel you come around me. I want to know what it's like when you fall apart while I'm inside you." Liam's hand flew between their bodies, wrapping around his own neglected length, and the combination of sensations, being filled and touched simultaneously, pushed him rapidly toward the edge. "Marcus," he gasped, I can't." "Yes, you can," Marcus growled, his hips driving forward relentlessly. "Come for me, Liam. Show me how good I make you feel." The command shattered what little control Liam had left. He climaxed with a cry that was almost a scream, his body clenching around Marcus in rhythmic waves that pulled the older man over the edge with him. Marcus groaned Liam's name as he found his own release, his powerful body shuddering as he emptied himself deep inside his virgin secretary. They clung to each other through the aftershocks, both trembling and gasping and utterly undone, when Marcus finally withdrew and collapsed beside him, pulling Liam into his arms. The younger man felt tears sliding down his temples into his hair. He'd had no idea, no concept of what he'd been missing, what his body was capable of feeling, how complete he could be in another person's arms. "Hey," Marcus said softly, wiping away the tears with gentle thumbs. "Are you okay? Did I hurt you?" "No," Liam managed, his voice choked with emotion. "The opposite. You showed me what I've been missing my whole life. Marcus, I never knew it could be like that." Marcus's expression softened with understanding and something that looked like tenderness. "That's because you've never been with someone who actually knows how to worship your body properly, someone who cares about your pleasure as much as their own." "I'm yours now, aren't I?" Liam whispered. "Completely." "Yes," Marcus confirmed, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Mine, and I'm yours. This isn't just sex, Liam. This is me claiming you, keeping you, making sure no one else ever touches what belongs to me." The possessiveness should have scared him. Instead, it made Liam feel safe in a way he'd never experienced. To be wanted so completely, to belong to someone so fully, it was everything he'd secretly craved without daring to name it. They lay together as their breathing slowly returned to normal, Marcus's large hand stroking idle patterns on Liam's back. Eventually, Marcus shifted them so Liam was tucked against his side, head resting on his broad chest. "We need to talk about what this means," Marcus said quietly. "For us, for work, for everything." "I know," Liam agreed, "but maybe not tonight. Tonight I just want to feel this. Feel you. Feel like I finally found where I belong." Marcus's arms tightened around him. Tomorrow, then. We'll figure out how to navigate the complications. But Liam, I need you to understand. I'm not giving this up. I'm not giving you up. We'll find a way to make it work. I don't want you to give me up either, Liam said. I've spent my whole life being what other people expected. For once, I want to be what I actually am, and what I am is yours. They fell asleep like that, tangled together in Marcus's massive bed, and Liam felt more at peace than he'd ever been. He'd crossed a line tonight, multiple lines, but instead of regret, all he felt was rightness. This was who he was. This was what he needed. And Marcus Washington, against all odds and expectations, wanted to give it to him. Liam woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the unfamiliar sensation of not being alone. Marcus's arm was draped across his waist, heavy and possessive even in sleep. And for a moment, Liam simply lay there, processing the enormity of what had happened. He'd given himself to Marcus Washington, completely, irrevocably. His virgin body now knew pleasure he hadn't imagined possible, and more than that, his heart had opened in ways that terrified and exhilarated him in equal measure. The soreness between his legs was a constant reminder of how thoroughly he'd been claimed. Every shift of position sent small sparks of sensation through him, making him acutely aware of what they'd done, how Marcus had filled him and taken him and made him his. Marcus stirred behind him, the arm around his waist tightening. "Morning," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep but warm with affection. "How do you feel?" Liam considered the question honestly. "Sore," he admitted, "but also complete. Like I finally understand what I was missing." Marcus pressed a kiss to his shoulder, gentle and sweet. "The soreness will fade. I should have been more careful with you." "No," Liam said quickly, turning in Marcus's arms to face him. "Don't regret anything about last night. It was perfect. You were perfect. I wanted everything you gave me." Marcus's dark eyes searched his face, looking for any hint of doubt or regret. Whatever he saw must have satisfied him, because he smiled slowly. "Good, because I meant what I said last night. You're mine now, Liam, and I take care of what's mine." The possessiveness sent a thrill through Liam that he no longer tried to deny. "What happens now?" he asked. "With work? With us? With everything?" "Now we figure it out," Marcus said, trailing his fingers down Liam's spine in a way that made him shiver. "First, we get you cleaned up and fed. Then we talk about how to navigate this without destroying your reputation or putting your job at risk." The practical concern touched Liam deeply. Marcus wasn't just thinking about his own desires, he was thinking about protecting Liam, about making sure this didn't hurt him professionally. They showered together, and Liam discovered new kinds of intimacy in the simple act of washing each other's bodies. Marcus's hands were gentle as they soaped his skin, careful around the tender places. And when Liam returned the favor, learning the landscape of Marcus's powerful body, he felt a different kind of arousal building, one based on connection rather than just physical need. Over breakfast, which Marcus insisted on making himself, demonstrating cooking skills Liam hadn't expected, they finally had the conversation they'd postponed the night before. "I don't want to hide what we have," Marcus said, setting a plate of perfectly scrambled eggs in front of Liam. "But I also understand the complications. You're my secretary. The power dynamic alone will make people talk." "I don't care what people say," Liam said, surprised by his own conviction. "I've spent my whole life caring too much about other people's opinions. It's exhausting, Marcus. For once, I want to just be honest about who I am and what I want." Marcus's expression softened. "You're braver than you think. But we need to be smart about this. I'm going to talk to HR about transitioning you to a different role. Same salary, same level, but not directly under me. That way our relationship doesn't create actual conflicts of interest." "You'd do that?" Liam asked, touched by Marcus's willingness to restructure his work life to accommodate their relationship. "I'd do a lot more than that," Marcus said firmly. "Liam, I need you to understand something. This isn't a fling for me. This isn't experimentation or curiosity. I'm 42 years old, and I know exactly what I want. What I want is you, in my bed, in my life, by my side. If that means making changes at work, We make changes. Liam felt tears prick his eyes at the declaration. I want that too. I want all of it. I'm still figuring out how to be this person. The person who wants another man, who gave himself to you so completely. It's new and scary and overwhelming. Then we figure it out together, Marcus said, reaching across the table to take his hand. You don't have to have all the answers right now. We take it one day at a time. They spent the rest of the weekend in Marcus's penthouse, alternating between conversation and exploring each other with newfound freedom. Marcus was patient with Liam's inexperience, teaching him how to give pleasure as well as receive it, showing him that intimacy could be playful and tender as well as intense. By Sunday evening, when Marcus finally drove Liam back to his studio apartment, the younger man felt fundamentally changed, not just in his body, though the pleasant ache was a constant reminder, but in his understanding of himself. He was gay. The word didn't feel scary anymore, just true. He wanted men. Specifically, he wanted Marcus Washington with an intensity that had only grown over the past 48 hours. Monday morning arrived too soon. Liam dressed carefully in one of his usual professional outfits, but he felt different walking into the office. Like everyone could see the change in him, could tell just by looking that he was no longer the untouched virgin who'd left Friday evening. Marcus was already in his office when Liam arrived, and when their eyes met through the glass walls, the heat that passed between them was unmistakable. But at work, they maintained professionalism. Marcus was still the CEO, and Liam was still his secretary, and they both had jobs to do. It was harder than Liam expected, being so close to Marcus all day without being able to touch him, to kiss him, to feel that connection they discovered over the weekend. Every time Marcus walked past his desk, Liam had to resist the urge to reach for him. Every time their fingers brushed during a document handoff, he felt electricity spark between them. By the end of the day, he was wound tight with frustrated desire. When the office finally emptied and they were alone again, Marcus appeared in front of Liam's desk with dark eyes and a knowing smile. "Come here," he commanded, his voice dropping to that authoritative tone that made Liam's knees weak. Liam stood and moved around the desk, and the moment he was close enough, Marcus pulled him in for a kiss that was anything but professional. It was hungry and possessive, and full of the pent-up tension from maintaining distance all day. "My place," Marcus said against his mouth. "Now, I need you in my bed again." "Yes," Liam breathed, already gathering his things. "God, yes." They established a rhythm over the following weeks. During work hours, they were consummate professionals. After hours, Liam spent most nights at Marcus's penthouse, learning his body and his preferences, discovering his own capacity for pleasure that seemed limitless when Marcus was the one providing it. Marcus was true to his word about protecting Liam's professional standing. He met with HR and arranged for Liam to transition to a project coordinator role, still within the company, still well compensated, but no longer reporting directly to Marcus. The change was announced as a promotion, recognizing Liam's excellent work, and no one questioned it. But people did start to notice other things. The way Marcus's eyes followed Liam across the room during meetings. The small private smiles they exchanged when they thought no one was looking. The fact that they often left the building at the same time. The whispers started around week 6. Speculation about whether something was going on between the CEO and his former secretary. Liam heard the gossip secondhand, co-workers asking if he knew anything, competitors making snide comments about how some people slept their way to promotions. It should have bothered him more than it did, but every time someone made an insinuation, Liam reminded himself that he had something they didn't. Marcus Washington's complete devotion, his protection, his love, because it was love. They hadn't said the words yet, but Liam felt it in every touch, every gesture, every moment. Marcus prioritized his comfort and pleasure. And what Liam felt for Marcus went far beyond physical attraction or gratitude. It was deep and consuming and absolutely terrifying. The confrontation came 3 months into their relationship. Liam was in the break room getting coffee when Richard Chen, a senior analyst who'd always treated him with barely concealed contempt, cornered him. "So it's true," Richard said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You really are sleeping with Washington. That's how you got your promotion." Liam's first instinct was to deny it, to protect himself the way he'd always protected himself. But then he thought about Marcus, about the man who'd shown him what it meant to be truly seen and valued, and something shifted inside him. "My relationship with Marcus is none of your business," Liam said calmly, meeting Richard's eyes without flinching. "And my promotion was earned through 8 months of excellent work, which you'd know if you paid attention to anything other than office gossip." Richard's face reddened. "You're disgusting. Both of you. It's inappropriate, it's unprofessional, and it's what?" Liam interrupted, surprising himself with his own steel. "It's two consenting adults in a relationship. It's none of your concern. It's making you uncomfortable because you can't stand seeing someone else happy? You're a..." Richard started, and Liam knew exactly what word was coming. "Finish that sentence," Marcus's deep voice cut through the break room like a blade, "and you'll be explaining it to HR before you clear out your desk." Both Liam and Richard turned to find Marcus standing in the doorway, arms crossed and expression thunderous. He must have overheard the entire exchange. "Mr. Washington," Richard stammered, all his bravado evaporating. You were just harassing an employee about his personal life," Marcus said coldly, "which violates about 6 different company policies. You have 2 choices, Richard. You can apologize to Liam right now and never speak about his personal life again, or you can find yourself unemployed. Choose quickly." Richard's face went through several shades of red before he managed a tight, "I apologize." "Accepted," Liam said, proud that his voice remained steady. "Now if you'll excuse us." Marcus waited until Richard had fled the break room before turning to Liam with concern replacing the anger in his expression. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Liam said, and realized he meant it. "Actually, I'm better than fine. I stood up for myself. For us. That's new for me." Marcus pulled him into a quick but fierce embrace. "I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry you had to deal with that ignorance. It won't be the last time," Liam said realistically. "People are going to talk. They're going to judge. We both knew that going in." "Yes," Marcus agreed, "but you don't have to face it alone. I'm right here with you, and anyone who has a problem with us can take it up with me directly." The protective declaration made Liam's heart swell. "I love you," he said, the words escaping before he could overthink them. "I know we haven't said it yet, but I do. I love you, Marcus." Marcus's face transformed with joy. "I love you too," he said, cupping Liam's face in his large hands. "God, Liam, I've loved you since that first night. Maybe even before that. You're everything I didn't know I needed." They kissed there in the break room, no longer caring who might see or what anyone might think. This was real, this was right, and they were done hiding. The next few months brought challenges, but they faced them together. Some colleagues were supportive, others judgmental. But Marcus and Liam presented a united front. They started attending company events together openly as a couple, and while it raised eyebrows initially, people gradually accepted it as their new normal. Liam discovered strength he hadn't known he possessed. The same determination that had made him excel at his job now fueled his commitment to their relationship. He learned to ignore the whispers, to hold his head high when entering rooms, to claim his place by Marcus's side without apology. And Marcus, for all his power and confidence, was surprisingly tender in private moments. He never took Liam's trust for granted, never stopped making sure that what they shared was what Liam truly wanted. Their physical relationship deepened as Liam gained confidence, but it was always grounded in mutual care and respect. 6 months after that first night, Marcus took Liam to dinner at an exclusive restaurant with a view of the entire city. Over wine and perfectly prepared food, they talked about everything and nothing, work and dreams and the small details of their daily lives. When dessert arrived, Marcus reached across the table to take Liam's hand. "I need to ask you something important," he said, his dark eyes serious. Liam's heart quickened. "Okay. Move in with me," Marcus said, officially. "Stop keeping half your life in that studio apartment and bring everything to the penthouse. Make it our home, not just mine." Relief and joy flooded through Liam. For a moment he'd thought, but no, this was better. This was real commitment, real partnership. Yes, he said, smiling so wide his face hurt. Absolutely yes. Marcus's answering smile was brilliant. Good, because I hate every night you're not in my bed. I hate waking up without you. I want you there all the time, in every part of my life. They toasted to new beginnings, to choosing each other, to building something that was entirely theirs. Moving in together was a revelation. Liam had lived alone for so long that sharing space felt foreign at first, but with Marcus, it felt right. They learned each other's rhythms and habits, negotiated closet space and bathroom schedules, and created small rituals that belonged only to them. Marcus surprised Liam by clearing out an entire room in the penthouse to serve as his personal space, somewhere he could read or work or just be alone when he needed it. The gesture showed how much Marcus understood him, understood that Liam still needed his own space sometimes, even while sharing a life. Their physical relationship evolved too. The initial urgency gave way to deeper intimacy, moments where they took hours exploring each other, and nights where they simply held each other and talked until dawn. Liam learned that Marcus's commanding presence in the bedroom was matched by surprising vulnerability in quiet moments, when he'd share his fears and doubts and dreams. And Liam, who'd spent 26 years locked behind walls of repression and fear, learned to be open. He talked about his conservative upbringing, about the shame he'd carried for so long, about how Marcus had freed him in ways that went far beyond the physical. A year after that first night, they threw a party in the penthouse to celebrate. Friends from work, Marcus's business associates, even a few of Liam's college friends who'd been surprised but supportive when he came out, all gathered to witness the life they'd built together. Late in the evening, as guests mingled and conversation flowed, Marcus pulled Liam aside to the balcony where city lights glittered below them like scattered stars. "I have something for you," Marcus said, reaching into his pocket. When he pulled out a small velvet box, Liam's breath caught. "Marcus, let me say this first," Marcus interrupted gently. "A year ago, you walked into my life and changed everything. You were this beautiful, untouched man who didn't even know what he wanted, and you trusted me to show you. You gave me your virginity, your heart, your trust, everything. And every day since, you've shown me what real strength looks like, what courage means, what love can be when it's honest and true." He opened the box to reveal a simple platinum band. "I know we can't get married legally everywhere yet, and I know this is fast by some people's standards, but Liam, I want you to be mine forever. Not just in bed, not just in this apartment, but in every way that matters. Will you wear my ring? Will you be my partner, my love, my family?" Tears streamed down Liam's face as he nodded. "Yes," he managed. "Yes, Marcus. I want all of that. I want forever with you." Marcus slid the ring onto his finger, and it fit perfectly, like everything about them together. They kissed as the city sparkled around them. Two men who'd found each other against all odds and built something beautiful from that first moment of brave honesty. Inside, their guests noticed their absence, and the new ring and champagne appeared for toasts. People celebrated with genuine warmth. Even some who'd been skeptical at first had been won over by the obvious depth of Marcus and Liam's connection. That night, after everyone had left and they were finally alone, Marcus carried Liam to their bedroom with the same reverence he'd shown that very first time. "My husband," Marcus murmured against his skin, the word not legally true yet but emotionally absolute. "Mine forever." "Yours forever," Liam agreed. And as Marcus made love to him with exquisite tenderness, he marveled at the journey that had brought him here. From the repressed virgin who couldn't admit what he wanted, to the man who'd found courage to claim his desires. From the invisible secretary to the confident partner of a powerful CEO. From desperately lonely to so completely loved, he sometimes couldn't breathe from the overwhelming rightness of it. The next morning, Liam woke to Marcus watching him with soft eyes. "What are you thinking?" Liam asked sleepily. "That I'm the luckiest man alive," Marcus said simply. "That you took a chance on me. on us, and gave me everything I didn't even know I needed. You gave me myself, Liam corrected. You saw who I really was before I could admit it. You made me brave enough to be honest. You showed me what love actually means. They lay together in comfortable silence, fingers intertwined, rings catching the morning light. Outside their bedroom, the city was waking up, full of people starting their days, most of them never knowing the quiet miracle happening in this penthouse. Two men who'd found each other. Two souls who'd recognized something essential in each other and been brave enough to reach for it. One powerful CEO and one former secretary who'd discovered that love didn't care about titles or social conventions or the expectations they'd both grown up with. I have a meeting at 9, Marcus said reluctantly, and you have that project review at 10. Back to the real world, Liam agreed, but without regret. Their real world now included each other, included this partnership they'd built, included the promise of forever they'd just made. As they moved through their morning routine, showering together, dressing for work, sharing breakfast, Liam reflected on how much had changed in just 1 year. He was no longer hiding who he was, no longer apologizing for what he wanted, no longer settling for a half-life of denial and loneliness. At work, they maintained professionalism, but everyone knew they went home together, knew they were building a life together. Some people still disapproved, but increasingly, most didn't care. Marcus and Liam were just another couple navigating the complications of love and work and building a future. The years that followed brought their own challenges, negotiating career advancement for both of them while maintaining their relationship, dealing with Marcus's ex who briefly tried to cause trouble, supporting each other through difficult projects and family complications, learning to fight fair when they disagreed, to communicate clearly, to prioritize each other even when work demanded attention. But through it all, they had the foundation of that first night, the trust Liam had placed in Marcus, the care Marcus had shown in return, the mutual recognition that what they'd found was rare and precious and worth fighting for. 3 years after that first night, they stood together in a small ceremony, surrounded by close friends and chosen family. Marriage equality had finally reached their state, and they wanted to make it official, to claim each other legally as well as emotionally. Liam wore a perfectly tailored suit that Marcus had chosen for him, and when he said his vows, promising to love and honor and cherish this man who'd changed his entire life, his voice was steady and sure. Marcus's vows were equally heartfelt. He spoke of the gift of Liam's trust, of the privilege of being the one to show him what love could be, of gratitude for every day they'd had together, and anticipation for all the days to come. When they exchanged rings, adding wedding bands to the commitment rings they already wore, Liam felt the significance of the moment settle into his bones. This was real. This was forever. This was the life he'd built by being brave enough to reach for what he wanted. At the reception, dancing with Marcus to their chosen song, Liam thought about the terrified virgin he'd been just 3 years ago. That version of himself would never have believed this could be his life, dancing with his husband, surrounded by people who loved them, celebrating a love he'd once thought was impossible. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus asked, reading the emotion on his face. "How far we've come," Liam said. "How scared I was that first night, and how you made me feel safe enough to take the risk." "Best risk I ever took too," Marcus said, pulling him closer. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Liam Washington." The name, his name now, legally, made Liam's eyes burn with happy tears. "I love you," he said, the words still feeling new and powerful even after saying them thousands of times. "I love you too," Marcus replied. "My beautiful husband, my brave love, mine forever." "Yours forever," Liam agreed, and as they continued to dance, he sent up a silent prayer of gratitude for the moment of courage that had changed everything, for the night he'd admitted what he wanted, for the man who'd shown him that denying yourself led to emptiness, but embracing your truth, scary as it was, led to everything worth having. Years later, When people asked Liam for advice about coming out or finding love or being brave enough to go after what you really wanted, he always told the same story about being a 26-year-old virgin who'd never admitted he was gay, about a night when everything changed because he finally stopped hiding, about a man who'd seen him completely and loved what he found. The scary thing and the right thing are often the same thing, he'd say. And choosing the scary thing, choosing honesty, choosing to reach for what you actually want instead of what's safe, that's where life actually begins. He and Marcus built an extraordinary life together. Successful careers that supported rather than competed with each other. A home filled with warmth and laughter and the small intimacies of long-term partnership. Friendships with other couples who understood the unique challenges and joys of being gay men in love. Eventually, they even explored becoming parents, opening their home and hearts to children who needed what they could provide. But it all traced back to that first night, to Liam finding courage he didn't know he had, to Marcus seeing potential in a repressed virgin and being patient enough to let it bloom. To two men who recognized something essential in each other and chose to build on that recognition rather than running from it. On their 10th anniversary, they returned to the office building where it had all started. It was late evening, just like that first night, and they stood in what had been Liam's workspace all those years ago. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "The complications, the gossip, having to come out when you weren't ready?" Liam considered the question seriously. "Not for a second," he said. "Every challenge was worth it. Every difficult moment led to this, to us, to this life, to being happy instead of hiding." Marcus pulled him close, kissing him with the same passion he'd shown that first night, but now layered with a decade of history and love and choosing each other every single day. "Thank you," Marcus said softly. "For being brave, for trusting me, for building this life with me." "Thank you for seeing me," Liam replied, "for making me brave, for loving me so completely that I learned to love myself." They left the office building hand in hand, heading home to the life they'd built, to the love they'd nurtured, to the future they'd continue creating together. Two men who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and proven that love, real, honest, brave love, could overcome any obstacle. Liam Clark had spent 26 years denying who he was, and then one night, he'd chosen truth over safety, desire over denial, love over fear. That choice had given him everything: a partner, a home, a family, and most importantly, himself. As they drove through the city where their story had begun, Liam looked at his husband's profile and felt gratitude so intense it was almost overwhelming. This was what he'd been missing during all those years of repression. Not just physical pleasure, though Marcus had certainly taught him about that, but connection, partnership, being seen and valued and loved for exactly who he was. "I love you," he said, the words as true now as the first time he'd said them. "I love you too," Marcus replied, reaching over to take his hand. "Forever." "Forever," Liam agreed. And as city lights blurred past the windows and they headed home together, Liam Clark, now Liam Washington, knew with absolute certainty that choosing courage over fear, truth over denial, had been the best decision of his life. Because on the other side of that scary choice had been everything he'd ever wanted, and more than he'd ever dreamed possible: the end.